So, Tony, obviously, you're a big proponent of the threat assessment. Can we dig into that a little bit? What are some of the key kind of pillars of a
Yeah,
threat assessment? What should a threat assessment cover? How often should a family office do one? What should they do with it? Tell me about the how important
sure.
the tool is and how you
Yeah,
form one.
absolutely. So a common misconception is that a threat assessment is all technical in nature, but that's not true. Most threat assessments, well, all threat assessments should be based upon a cybersecurity framework. And there are several out there that are just open, free to everyone on the web. The NIST cybersecurity framework is one of them. ISO puts one out called ISO 27001, but that's more for like manufacturing firms. And the Center for Internet Security puts one out. And these are basically giant checklists of like 150 things that every business should be doing to keep up with cyber attacks. And each one of them go into, yeah, obviously there's things in there like network infrastructure, proper configuration of devices and network devices, keeping things up to date, like I mentioned earlier, proper tooling like for monitoring, for scanning, use of like next generation antivirus such as EDR, use of password management tools, but also these frameworks touch on education programs. Like, are you educating everybody, and are you teaching them the things that they should be learning? Are you doing social engineering tests, i.e., phishing your own employees? Do you have the correct policies and procedures in place to protect the family's assets? And that's anything from like having an incident response plan, a business continuity plan, to on the procedure side, having a process in place to double check account numbers before you transfer money. So a proper threat assessment should look at all of those things. So when you're out there in the market shopping for a firm that does this sort of thing, make sure that they're rooted in a well-known cybersecurity framework. Just know enough to be dangerous. Just ask them, are you using CIS, are you using NIST, ISO, whatever? But also ask them if they're doing things on top of that. Because remember, I mentioned earlier that these frameworks are built around businesses, and family offices protect families and homes and personal devices and non-business type things, right? So any sort of assessment firm that you work with should have experience working with families and go above and beyond the business-centric frameworks to look at things that would kind of just skirt right in under the rug when you're doing like a business-centric assessment. One example I'll give you is that these assessments, because they're about assessing businesses, these frameworks, they're just for businesses. They assume that everyone is using a business email account, right? But we all have worked with family offices wherein the family members all have personal email accounts, and the family office is sending, investment reports, et cetera, to a Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo. That would just skirt right by an assessment because the assessment assumes that everyone in the quote unquote business is using business email, right? So that's just one example of how they should be. They should be rooted in a cybersecurity framework that you at least have some sort of knowledge about, but they should go further if you're looking at protecting the entire family and their assets.